Drawn from the academic community and states affected by the farmer-herders conflict, it was bound to be a robust summit with views inspired by different experiences. The varied colors of opinions on offer, however, pointed towards the urgent need for peace. Setting the tone for the day's deliberations, former Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Dele Alake, told the audience that the organizers were persuaded by the need to change the narrative from one of division to one of peace. Speaking in similar vein, the Chief Executive Officer of TVC News, Andrew Hanlon, and retired Colonel Zubair Hamid emphasized that dialogue and negotiations were critical to achieving peace in such conditions.
If the herdsmen attacked Benue and attacked Taraba, and they have a state who did not say they cannot graze, and they are given land to even put up ranches, and they were attacked, can we be sincere? Can we be truthful to ourselves that it is the same herdsmen who are attacking Benue and Taraba that went to attack? If we talk in Nigeria, there are a lot of times we talk about you don't negotiate with terrorists. Who are these terrorists? What is paramount? Your national interest or having a law that is man-made law?
And for Professor of Political Science Eugene Alegbe and the representative of the Plateau State Governor, a firmer understanding of the causative factors is as crucial as the peace process.
If it's just about the farmer on the one hand and the herder on the other, I think if it were just about these two set of actors, probably would have gotten a solution to this crisis already. But there are so many things involved, and the dynamics of it, of course, is fueled by the political economy dimension. A lot of shadow actors have emerged that we don't even know about their profiles.
The summit wrapped up with a reminder that a similar conference organized by the military government in 1996 warned that if the farmer-pastoralist conflict is not checked decisively, it could consume the entire country as it is threatening to do now. Bukola Samuel Wemimo, TVC News.
Okay, joining us from Abuja is the head of TVC News, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Good morning. It's good to have you on that end. Of course, TVC is co-convener of this all-important summit that held for 2 days in Abuja. Good morning. Good to see you, Mr. Otoju.
Good morning, Ngozi and Ifemi.
Glad to have you join us this
What
morning.
a good job you guys are doing there.
Thank you very much, and a fantastic one watching that summit on day one and day two. It looks like this summit has been able to come up with a roadmap, as to how to end, if not reduce the barest minimum, this herdsmen, farmers' clashes, including other crisis situations in Nigeria. What would you say are the high points of this?
Yeah, I think for me the most important decision reached at the summit was the recommendation that the federal government should set up a peace and conflict resolution commission, which would enable government and its agencies to work hard at resolving conflicts between farmers and herders generally. Because we've seen from this summit that there is a great need for farmers and herdsmen and pastoralists generally to always talk together, find a way to resolve their differences. All the wars are usually ended at a round table. We can kill ourselves, but whether we like it or not, if we want peace to reign, then we must be prepared to sit down around, at a round table and talk about what brought us into conflict in the first place. And that was the essence of the summit. And we were really, really impressed at the turnout. The turnout was huge. We thought that by the second day that the momentum will have gone down. But we were surprised that some of the best presentations that were made at this summit actually came on the second day. And the crowd on the second day was larger than the crowd that came on the first day. So it's something that really makes us happy, makes us proud, that Nigerians are interested in peace. People are tired of these killings across our country in the shape of farmers' herdsmen crisis. I really opened our eyes to the reasons for this seemingly unending conflict. And I'm convinced that if the government will implement some of the recommendations that that came out of this conflict, I mean of this summit, we will have peace. We will not just have peace, we will have enduring peace.
Babajide, it's interesting to see how the summit has resonated with Nigeria and indeed Nigerians across the board. I'm interested particularly about the body language of government. Have we had some sort of commitment in the light that this would not go down the drain as the other conversations we've had? Even these issues, for instance, you mentioned the Peace and Conflict Resolution Commission. If the government has shown some commitment in some way that they're going to take these recommendations seriously.
No, we have no evidence of that already. These are early days, Nifemi. But I'm convinced that the government must have been watching. They must have seen that we invested our resources, we invested our time, we invested our energy in this to ensure that Nigerians live in peace. There cannot be progress. There cannot be growth and development in an atmosphere of war. So this is our own contribution to nation building. And with the success that we have recorded at this summit, I'm sure that the government would be very much disposed to taking on board some of the recommendations. For example, the Emir of Kano, through his representative, German Kano, Professor Isa Hashim, suggested that the grazing routes should be maintained, the grazing routes as well as the stock routes. You and I know that over the years, people had cornered these grazing routes and even built houses on them. Some governors have allocated plots along grazing routes to their friends. So something must give. Because the pastoralist is looking for where he can feed his animal. So if we've taken away their the grazing routes, where do we expect them to feed these animals?
So
over the years, they've been used to.
Obviously, like they say.
So now, something must be done.
Absolutely. Like they say, to go forward, you have to go back. There was a lot of historical, background to this herdsmen farmers clashes. But in listening to some of the speakers, a lot of them came up with different diagnoses of what the problem is. Some said it's because of water shortage and all of that, and while others believe that it's the lack of inclusiveness as far as the Fulanis are concerned, that they have not been given that sense of belonging, in the Nigerian project, that is a major problem. And they've been looking for land wherever they can find it to, call home. I wonder if you think this is a good diagnosis of what the problem is in such a way that it can impact on the solutions that we find.
No, there cannot be one solution to the problem that we have. So this peculiar problem that we have, there cannot be one solution. But I believe that it is important to take the welfare of the rural dwellers seriously. We need to also support these pastoralists the best way that we can. When people talk about Botswana being a net exporter of beef, it is because the government has encouraged its people to take animal production seriously. So every household You find even a boy as young as 10 years old has even two cows of his own. So government has encouraged pastoralists in that country. And we are saying that there is nothing bad in encouraging these people, because they provide a major source of protein. So if government supports banks and ensures that banks don't go under, even where cases of mismanagement have been proven, there is nothing wrong in also supporting pastoralists, in supporting these guys, so that they can continue to play the role that they are playing currently. There is no measure that can be too bad to take if we must find peace.
In other words,
growing up, you recall, because you recall that our river basins were very, very active. And at this summit, it was suggested that the river basins, especially in northern Nigeria, should be resuscitated, so that all the year round they can grow grass. And the idea of moving down south, constantly moving by these pastoralists, will be taken care of once the river basins around them can provide a good pasture for the animals.
Of course, President Buhari has been drawing a lot of attention to the drying up of the Lake Chad region. But in listening to some of the, the speakers there too, you could tell that, look, they are seeing it as an economic problem. I listened to Andrew Hanlon, the CEO of TVC Communications, and he did point out his country, Ireland, for example, where a population of 5 million, they export not just the raw beef, but, other products, like butter, for example. He named one of the huge, butter exports, that I can't name here for obvious reasons. 5 million population, and you have more than that as livestock. There's data for livestock and all of that. And they are making money from, I think he said $2-something billion from exporting butter alone. Then imagine what a population like Nigeria, 180 million people, can actually achieve if we actually sat down and looked at this as what it is, an economic challenge.
I agree, absolutely. But the government has to lead the way. The government has to lead the way. And that is what a lot of the speakers here recommended. The government must lead the way. Show clearly that, look, the role that the pastoralist plays is appreciated. I can tell you that if we really want to improve animal production in our country, if we commit ourselves to it, if we apply ourselves to it, in future we can be a net exporter. But the processes must change. They must change, and we must embrace technology in improving these things.
That's right.
So even milk production would improve once we back these people sufficiently. I mean, when the speakers were suggesting that states that are really keen about grazing reserves should be supported. We can start from that level. Maybe some other states will join if they see the success of the initiative. So we must not abandon the pastoralists. We must do our best to encourage them, make them happy, develop the rural communities, provide all that they need. So once you provide water, you provide the grazing area for them. Definitely, they won't feel the need to be traveling hundreds of kilometers just to find the green pasture for the animals. So I am convinced that we can achieve peace if some of the recommendations, or most of the recommendations that came out of this summit are implemented by government, and it is we are obligated as newsmen and women to continue to pile pressure on government to implement some of the ideas that have come out of this summit. Otherwise, the summit will be a waste.
Already reactions are trailing this conversation. There are some who are the proponents of ranching being world best practice. And of course, we also see all of these issues evolving over time. Kolade-Otitoju, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us on this particular issue.